Welcome back to Pro Caitlin TV. If you thought this was going to be just another regular WNBA game, think again. The Indiana Fever and the Las Vegas Aces delivered a matchup packed with intensity, physical basketball, momentum swings, and moments that had fans glued to every second. But when the final buzzer sounded, it wasn't just the scoreboard people were talking about. It was the passion, the toughness, and the way Caitlin Clark's teammates rallied around her throughout the game. Almost immediately, social media exploded with reactions. Some fans praised the Fever for standing their ground against one of the league's toughest opponents, while others debated whether the physical play crossed the line. Sports shows, podcasts, and basketball analysts quickly joined the conversation, breaking down the biggest moments and asking what this performance means for Indiana moving forward. But here's what really has everyone talking. Was this simply an emotional battle between two talented teams? Or did it reveal something much bigger about the identity of the Indiana Fever? Has this young squad finally found the confidence to compete with the league's elite? And what role did Caitlin Clark's leadership play in bringing the team together during one of its biggest tests of the season? Stay with us, because we're breaking down the biggest moments from this unforgettable game, the reactions flooding social media, and why basketball fans can't stop talking about what happened between the Fever and the Aces. From the opening tip, it was obvious this wasn't going to be an ordinary night. The Indiana Fever walked onto the court knowing they were facing one of the WNBA's toughest opponents in the Las Vegas Aces. Every possession mattered, every rebound was contested, and every defensive stop felt like it could change the momentum of the game. For Indiana, this wasn't just another game on the schedule. It was an opportunity to prove that the team's recent progress wasn't a fluke. The Fever had been showing signs of growth throughout the season, and fans were eager to see whether they could compete with one of the league's championship-caliber teams. Caitlin Clark immediately became the center of attention, just as she does in nearly every arena she visits. The crowd reacted every time she touched the basketball, and the Aces' defense made it clear they weren't going to give her anything easy. Every pass, every shot, and every drive to the basket was met with intense pressure. But something felt different about this Fever team. Instead of relying on Clark to carry every offensive possession, her teammates responded with confidence. They fought for loose balls, set hard screens, attacked the paint, and matched the Aces' physical style of play. Fans watching the game quickly noticed that Indiana looked more connected than ever. That observation spread rapidly across social media. Posts praising the Fever's toughness began appearing throughout the game. Many supporters commented that the team looked united, with players constantly encouraging one another after every big play. Others pointed out that this was exactly the kind of competitive edge Indiana needed if it wanted to establish itself as a legitimate contender. As the first half continued, the intensity only increased. Neither team wanted to give an inch. Every rebound turned into a battle. Every defensive possession required maximum effort, and emotions were running high on both sides. The officials had their hands full trying to keep the game under control while allowing both teams to play aggressive basketball. Basketball analysts following the matchup began highlighting Indiana's composure. Instead of becoming frustrated when the game became physical, the Fever continued focusing on execution. They moved the ball effectively, stayed disciplined on defense, and refused to let individual moments distract them from the bigger goal of winning the game. That maturity impressed many observers. Throughout Clark's rookie season, critics had questioned whether Indiana could handle high-pressure situations against elite opponents. This game began changing that conversation. Fans started posting that the Fever looked like a completely different team compared to earlier in the season. Meanwhile, Clark continued doing what has made her one of the league's biggest stars. Even when defenders pressured her far beyond the three-point line, she remained patient. She looked for open teammates, created scoring opportunities, and kept the offense moving instead of forcing difficult shots. Many fans praised her willingness to trust her teammates, arguing that it demonstrated another level of growth in her game. The Fever responded to that trust. Players who had sometimes stayed in supporting roles earlier in the season began making winning plays. Timely baskets, strong defensive possessions, and relentless hustle helped Indiana keep pace with one of the WNBA's best teams. Every contribution mattered, and the bench celebrated every positive moment as though it were a playoff game. The atmosphere inside the arena reflected that intensity. Each big shot brought louder cheers. Every defensive stop energized the crowd even more. Even neutral basketball fans watching from home recognized they were witnessing one of the most entertaining games of the season. As halftime approached, commentators emphasized how impressive Indiana's effort had been. They noted that beating a team like Las Vegas requires more than talent. It demands discipline, resilience, and confidence. The Fever appeared to be displaying all three qualities, refusing to back down regardless of the situation. Fans couldn't stop talking about the team's chemistry. Across social media, many praised the way Indiana players consistently supported one another after difficult possessions. Instead of showing frustration, they celebrated hustle plays, communicated constantly, and maintained positive energy throughout the game. That sense of unity became one of the biggest storylines of the night. Supporters argued that championship-level teams are built on trust, and this performance suggested the Fever were developing exactly that. While Clark remained the face of the franchise, the game highlighted that success would ultimately depend on the entire roster contributing together. But everyone knew the toughest challenge was still ahead. Playing well in the first half against the Aces was one thing. Finishing the job against an experienced championship team would require another level of focus. As both teams headed into the locker room, fans sensed that the biggest moments of the night were still to come, and the second half would determine whether the Fever's impressive effort would end with a statement victory or a painful lesson. When the second half began, the atmosphere inside the arena changed completely. Everyone knew the next few minutes could decide the outcome of the game. The Las Vegas Aces came out looking determined to take control, playing with the confidence of a team that had been in these high-pressure moments countless times before. But the Indiana Fever showed they weren't interested in backing down. Every possession became more intense than the last. The Aces tried to speed up the pace, hoping to force Indiana into mistakes. Instead, the Fever remained composed. They continued moving the basketball, making smart decisions, and trusting each other. Whenever Las Vegas made a run, Indiana answered with a big defensive stop or a timely basket that kept the momentum from completely shifting. Fans watching couldn't believe what they were seeing. Social media was flooded with posts praising the Fever's resilience. Many supporters wrote that this was one of the toughest performances they had seen from Indiana all season. Others pointed out that the team looked far more confident than it had just a few months earlier, especially in pressure-filled moments against one of the league's elite teams. Caitlin Clark continued to attract enormous attention from the Aces' defense. Nearly every time she crossed half-court, defenders were waiting to challenge her. Double teams appeared at key moments, and passing lanes became increasingly crowded. But rather than forcing difficult shots, Clark continued making the right basketball play. She found open teammates, kept the offense flowing, and demonstrated why her court vision is considered one of the best among young guards in the league. That decision-making became one of the biggest talking points after the game. Commentators praised Clark's patience, noting that great players don't always need to score the most points to influence the outcome. Sometimes, the biggest impact comes from creating opportunities for everyone else. Indiana's balanced attack showed exactly why teamwork can be so difficult for opposing defenses to stop. At the other end of the floor, the Fever matched the Aces' physical style with disciplined defense. They fought for every rebound, challenged shots without losing their composure, and stayed connected through constant communication. Those effort plays may not always appear on highlight reels, but fans quickly recognized how important they were to keeping Indiana in control during critical stretches. The energy on the Fever bench reflected that same determination. Every defensive stop was celebrated. Every hustle play brought players to their feet. Even simple possessions that ended with smart ball movement received enthusiastic reactions from teammates and coaches. That collective energy became contagious, helping Indiana maintain its confidence as the pressure continued to rise. As the fourth quarter approached, the tension became impossible to ignore. The score remained close, and every possession felt like it carried enormous weight. Commentators reminded viewers that these are the situations where experienced championship teams usually find another gear. The question was whether Indiana could do the same. The answer came through composure. Instead of panicking, the Fever continued executing their game plan. They avoided unnecessary mistakes, valued each possession, and stayed committed to playing together. That maturity impressed analysts, who noted how much the team had grown since the beginning of the season. Meanwhile, fans couldn't stop talking about the chemistry developing within the roster. Many pointed out that Indiana no longer looked like a team relying on one superstar to solve every problem. Instead, players were trusting one another, sharing responsibilities, and contributing in different ways throughout the game. That balanced approach gave supporters hope that the Fever were building something capable of lasting beyond a single impressive performance. By the final minutes, the excitement had reached another level. Every basket was met with roaring cheers. Every defensive stop drew loud reactions from the crowd. Television cameras captured emotional celebrations on the bench as Indiana fought to protect its advantage against one of the league's strongest teams. Across social media, basketball fans from around the country began acknowledging what they were witnessing. Regardless of which team they supported, many agreed that this was one of Indiana's most complete performances of the season. The Fever had shown discipline, toughness, and belief under enormous pressure, qualities that every successful team needs. But the biggest moments were still waiting. As the clock continued winding down, everyone inside the arena knew the final possessions would define the night. Would Indiana complete one of its most memorable victories of the season, or would the experienced aces find a way to steal the game at the last second? The answer would leave basketball fans talking long after the final buzzer sounded, and the reaction afterward would become just as fascinating as the game itself. The final minutes felt like a playoff game. Every possession carried enormous weight, every defensive stop brought the crowd to its feet, and every basket seemed to shift the momentum. The Indiana Fever knew they were just moments away from a statement victory, but they also understood that a team like the Las Vegas Aces is never out of a game until the final buzzer sounds. As the pressure mounted, the Fever stayed remarkably composed. Instead of trying to force highlight plays, Indiana trusted the game plan that had worked all night. The ball continued to move from player to player, open looks were created through patience, and the defense remained locked in. That discipline was one of the biggest differences between this performance and some of the team's earlier games this season. Caitlin Clark continued to draw enormous defensive attention, even late in the game. The Aces were determined not to let her take over offensively, sending extra defenders whenever she had the ball in her hands. But Clark didn't let that frustrate her. She kept reading the defense, finding open teammates, and making smart decisions that helped Indiana control the tempo during the most important possessions of the night. Those plays didn't always end up on the highlight reels. But basketball fans understand that winning isn't just about scoring. It's about making the right decision at the right moment. Whether it was an extra pass, a perfectly timed assist, or simply staying calm under pressure, Clark's leadership helped keep the Fever focused when the game was hanging in the balance. Her teammates answered that trust in a big way. Several players came through with timely baskets, strong defensive stops, and hustle plays that shifted momentum back toward Indiana whenever the Aces threatened to make another run. Instead of relying on one player to carry the team, the Fever showed what a connected group can accomplish when everyone contributes. That team effort quickly became the biggest story after the game. Across social media, fans praised the way Indiana competed from the opening tip until the final buzzer. Many pointed out that this wasn't just an impressive win. It was a sign of how much the Fever have grown throughout the season. Earlier in the year, close games against elite opponents often slipped away. This time, Indiana stayed confident, executed under pressure, and finished the job. Basketball analysts noticed the same thing. Post-game discussions focused on the Fever's maturity, their improved chemistry, and the confidence they displayed against one of the league's premier teams. Many commentators suggested that victories like this can change the mindset of a young roster. Once players prove they can beat championship-level competition, they begin believing they can compete with anyone. Fans couldn't stop celebrating. Comment sections filled with messages praising the team's effort, resilience, and togetherness. Some supporters called it one of the Fever's most complete performances of the season. Others highlighted the defensive intensity, saying it showed just how much the team's identity has evolved. The excitement wasn't limited to Indiana fans. Around the league, basketball followers recognized that the Fever are becoming a team no opponent can afford to overlook. Their confidence continues to grow, their chemistry is improving, and their young core is gaining valuable experience with every high-pressure game they play. Of course, one victory doesn't guarantee future success. The WNBA season is long, and every game presents a new challenge. Opposing teams will continue studying Indiana, looking for ways to slow down Clark and disrupt the Fever's offense. That means the team must continue improving if it wants to build on this momentum. Still, nights like this create belief. They remind players that hard work, trust, and resilience can produce results against even the strongest competition. They give fans confidence that brighter days are ahead. And they show the rest of the league that Indiana is no longer satisfied with simply competing. They expect to win. Looking ahead, the spotlight on Caitlin Clark and the Fever will only become brighter. Every upcoming matchup will attract national attention. Every performance will be analyzed by fans and media alike. Expectations will continue to rise, but so will the excitement surrounding one of the league's fastest improving teams. If this game proved anything, it's that the Indiana Fever are growing into a confident, connected basketball team capable of challenging anyone on the right night. With Caitlin Clark leading the offense and her teammates continuing to embrace bigger roles, the future looks increasingly promising. Now the question isn't whether the Fever can compete with the WNBA's best. The question is how far this young team can go if it continues building on performances like this. And judging by the reaction from fans, analysts, and players across the league, everyone will be watching closely to find out. What a game, and what a statement from the Indiana Fever. Whether you were cheering for the Fever, the Aces, or simply enjoying an incredible night of WNBA basketball, this matchup gave fans plenty to talk about. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think this was one of the Fever's biggest wins of the season? Has Caitlin Clark and this young Indiana team officially shown they can compete with the WNBA's elite? And which moment from the game stood out to you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because we read every comment, and your opinion could be featured in one of our future videos. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps the channel grow and lets us know you want more in-depth coverage of Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, the WNBA, game reactions, breaking news, and the biggest stories surrounding women's basketball. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to Pro Caitlin TV and turn on notifications so you never miss another update. We're bringing you the latest news, game analysis, player reactions, and all the hottest conversations from around the WNBA as soon as they happen. Thank you so much for watching and for being an amazing part of the Pro Caitlin TV community. We truly appreciate your support, and we can't wait to see